This is going to be a remake of video 3, the same content, but I'm hoping to shorten it up a little bit and actually add a little bit to it. To pick up where we left off with number 2, my property is missing in this view. You have to zoom down into this view for it to show up. There's my property. Hopefully this will be the last day I'm down in the dirt, as tomorrow is my magic day to make a move, some kind of referral. Now, the thing I wanted to bring to your attention now, and I can't remember if we hit it in the last video, but is the lack of information up here regarding the fact that there are more properties to be seen. In other words, anybody that zooms in at this level would assume that they're seeing everything there is to offer. Maybe better yet, let me do this. Anybody zooming in at this level may very well think that they're seeing everything they have to offer. A consumer would have to scroll down to the bottom of this list. Okay, 1 second. To realize that there are 15 properties that may be of interest to them, that may be a better fit, that are not on this map. The biggest issue we all need to be concerned about is, why isn't that same record count bar, that bar that says you're only seeing 1 out of 50 or 1 through 50 out of 65, why isn't that information in this view here? Very few people are going to scroll down, and VRBO, HomeAway, these guys and Airbnb, they know that people aren't going to scroll this. They're going to look at this map, they're going to move around. What that means is that to be in this top 50 becomes a critical item for commercial success. Okay, and you can argue there's only 65 houses on this list. Why not just throw the other 15 in? Certainly in my case, it wouldn't flood it. So we've got a major issue here. There's two things going on. One, there's an arbitrary limit set to the number of properties they'll show on one screen, and that doesn't have to be the case. We've shown that on Craigslist. And the second is that when doing that, they've applied a filter to the data, and they haven't made it very easy for the consumer to see that. Now, is that a problem? I mean, is that illegal? Is it unethical? That's the kind of conversations people need to have. And in the meantime, if you're one of those that says, hey, what can we do in the meantime? What can we do to make this better for all of us, with all of us being the smaller folks, not some of the bigger partners that are now getting seemingly some really nice benefits. One of the things you can do is send this video in and ask VRBO and HomeAway to get back to you in writing with the reasoning behind the fact that the record count information is not either here, just a duplicate of that bar here, or somewhere on here that says you're currently looking at records 1 through 50 of 65. You need to think about the implications of this. What happens if you're not in the top 50, and what criteria are they using to get you there? Right now, I'm not there because I'm not on Book It Now, but there's another 10 or 15 people that aren't there, and who knows why they're not there. Maybe it's pricing, performance. But what's the criteria now? What's the criteria going to be next year? There's a big push towards instant book. And that to me is sheer lunacy. Anybody that's run their own business, who's a business person, who has a mortgage on a property, who understands that, has been doing this for 5 or 10 years, and understands that there are some guests that, aren't responsive via email, and you've got the potential to screen them, and that there are other things that happen during the booking process, which give you an idea of who you're dealing with. All of that's lost. And if they're going to use that then to categorize us next year, I might as well quit this year, because that's not something I'm willing to do. And it's clearly something they're going to. Here's the lightning bolt right there. That's probably a reason why book now without waiting. I mean, that is an instant book. And if that's where they're going, then that's more conducive to the property management companies than it is to individual owners. And if that's the case, where are we going? I can tell you right now that a property management company just released 10 properties in this area. If we only have 50 properties on a screen at one time, and if that property management company becomes a preferred partner, gets preferred positioning, whether they have better reviews or better properties or not, that's 20% of the real estate on this map. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause here, think about that, and we'll come back and switch gears a little. Okay, I'm back. I had a comment in one of the videos that said, frankly, candidly, you're just going to need to take your business elsewhere. It wasn't meant as rude as it sounds, I don't think. We kind of clarified that. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, it's a great idea. So where are we going to go? Well, we can go to Airbnb, right? Our 3 players in this business right now are VRBO, Airbnb, and I don't have it open, but TripAdvisor. Those are the only 3 players we have left. And if if you don't realize just how consolidated this market's become, go to Wikipedia. I believe I counted between 2005 and 2015, there's 25 acquisitions by HomeAway, and then HomeAway was purchased by Expedia. That's called market consolidation. These are the kinds of things that antitrust attorneys and antitrust suits monitor. And if you go to TripAdvisor, you'll see they made some major purchases in the vacation rental market in the 2007, 2008 timeframe, vacation rental website. It looks like they must have figured out that they weren't going to be competitive or didn't want to compete, so they seem to have dropped off there. If you go to look up Airbnb, it's hard to find their purchases on a Wikipedia site. But here's an example of Airbnb's buy of luxury retreats, his latest of a dozen acquisitions. So the concept of you're going to have to take your business elsewhere is you're going to have to go to one of the top three. I mean that is elsewhere. There isn't any elsewhere. What happens if all of the elsewheres are also operating in a manner which is artificially limiting the coverage of the properties available? So here's what I mean by that. Go to Airbnb. First of all, I find it odd that when you type in Baltimore, you don't get a map right away, but it is what it is. And look at how do you get to be one of these 5 properties? Because that's a big deal. This guy's only been in business for 9 months. What did he do to get here? And he's on this screen every single time I come here. Here's 169 reviews, 44, and here's 11. How do you get to be here? Now, the next question is, click on homes. We get to a similar situation that we had with VRBO in that we've got a list here. We have no record count bar. This is record, 1 through 50 of 300. And we have a map. I mean, the average consumer might just start shopping. Now, in this case, because they do room rentals, the pricing's a little different. So most people are going to apply a filter, but why isn't the record count bar here? And what are we really looking at? The record count bar in Airbnb, like with VRBO, is hidden at the bottom. Look at this, 1 through 18 of 300 plus rentals. So we have no idea even how many they have, but it's over 300. If I had a filter for 3 bedrooms, I actually have my 3-bedroom listed on here. I go show homes. Okay, well, there's some homes, so somebody could zoom in, right? Now, how many does VRBO or Airbnb show? Their default search, they only show 18 homes in their first search, in their default search, rather. And there's 143 rentals. So if you're up high in the listing this year, and if they change the rules or do something next year, how do you ensure that you can stay in business year over year? You just keep playing their game. You keep chasing. It's a chase the tail game. And what happens? Who ends up left standing after 3 or 4 or 5 years of rule changes? Most of the time, it's going to be people that have tighter connections with these corporations. And these corporations are forming connections with investment groups because it's easier to deal with one investor who has 20 properties than it is 20 investors who have 20 properties. I mean, that's just natural business. But ultimately, what we've got now is we've got a very limited marketplace. We've got HomeAway, TripAdvisor, and Airbnb. You've got 3 key players. And to say that's not a monopoly, well, it's not the same company, so in that sense it's not. But they have monopolized the marketing space. You can't get in otherwise. And they have bought up all other competition. Okay. And what we have, and combined with the big 3, we have them all using, or at least these 2, using similar filtering systems where a very, very, very small portion of the inventory is actually being shown, and neither one of them are making it easy for a consumer to realize that they aren't looking at a full selection of properties. You need to think about the ramifications of this long term, and you can make an argument that maybe these guys want some people to go out of business. I mean, if they recognize that the market is flooded too, and that means nobody's making enough money to stay in business, and this would apply more so to VRBO than Airbnb, as a lot of the Airbnb are people living there and just giving it up for a day or a week. But your full-time landlords and property owners, there's a good chance they want some people to go out of business because they recognize there's not enough business to go around. And if there's not enough business to go around, everybody may go out of business. And while that sounds crazy, I'm going to show you some information in a couple of videos that clearly shows that I can show you 12 properties in downtown Baltimore, all 12 of arguably the leading properties in Baltimore. None of them are making enough money on VRBO to stay in business. So that's good news for Airbnb. It's good news for people who rent on Airbnb. It's really, really not good news for VRBO and HomeAway, and it makes for an interesting story.